this year, a major investment theme is restaking and LRTs. That's liquid restaking tokens. That's what you're saying here. Tell me about this, David. Why this theme going into here?
This theme begins with EigenLayer, who, of course, brought restaking into crypto at all. Now, there's already EigenLayer kind of copycats. There's an EigenLayer on Bitcoin. There's an EigenLayer in the multi-chain. But really, EigenLayer itself has kind of dominated the narrative. Right in the last week, or maybe week before, the week before Christmas, $1 billion of TVL was hit by EigenLayer. And the caps that EigenLayer has, the liquid staking token caps, every single liquid staking token has a limit as to how much can be deposited into EigenLayer just as a safety precaution, keeps getting hit over and over and over again. The most recent cap that was raised just a couple weeks ago was hit yesterday.
Wait, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So it's like ST ETH has a cap of how much ST ETH that is Lido's staked ETH, how much Lido staked ETH you can put in EigenLayer right now, and our ETH has a similar cap. That's what you mean by cap, and EigenLayer is self-imposing this cap. I believe, just because it doesn't want to grow too fast, too quickly. It's still in kind of an early form, like call it like a beta type form. Is that what you mean by these caps?
That's exactly right. And the caps for kind of the longer tail liquid staking tokens are lower than the Lido cap, but everything that is a liquid staking token has a cap. Lido is the largest. The next largest deposit into EigenLayer is Swell, and then Rocket Pool as well, Coinbase. But all of these individual liquid stake token has a limit on them. Vanilla Ether has no limit. So you can deposit as much Ether into EigenLayer to farm EigenLayer points, which is kind of where this whole investment narrative starts, is EigenLayer airdrop, the EigenLayer airdrop, starting with EigenLayer points. And if you deposit Ether into EigenLayer, you get EigenLayer points. If you deposit liquid staking tokens into EigenLayer, you also get EigenLayer points. But you are probably also farming the liquid restaking token of the system that you are depositing into. So for example, if you are depositing into EigenLayer via Swell or via Stakewise or via any of these other, like Stata, for example, you can also farm the liquid restaking token that comes as well. And this is why one of the major themes, the last major theme that we'll talk about, Ryan, is airdrops. But we'll get to that one. Right now, EigenLayer is the dual airdrop farm, because everyone is very hyped on restaking, but you are also able to farm two airdrops at once, the EigenLayer drop, which everyone's excited about, and also a specific liquid restaking token that is entering the competition to ultimately replace liquid staking tokens, to replace Rocket Pool, to replace Lido, because this game board for liquid restaking tokens is brand new. It's a brand new fight. It's a brand new fight for TVL and attention and liquidity, and all of the wars of LST that were so hot in 2021 and 2022 are about to restart over again with liquid restaking tokens.
Okay. So I think we need 2 points of clarification here. Is one, could you just reset? Why are people putting tokens in EigenLayer to begin with? Like, what's the entire what's the point? So you were kind of talking a bit more and emphasizing maybe a bit more airdrop farming and kind of that sort of use case. But of course, that is kind of a speculative use case. That is to bootstrap the network, that sort of thing. But what is the end reason for why people are actually depositing tokens into EigenLayer? What does EigenLayer do?
Right. EigenLayer restaking networks are an additional source of yield to deposited capital. And technically that capital can be anything, but for right now, it is just Ether. If you want to explore why just Ether, we recently did an episode with Sriram with Mike Neuter a couple weeks ago. That's already out. And so that answers in that episode. But really, you have Ether staking and the yields from ETH staking. And this is the world, the arena of liquid staking tokens that we all know, RETH, ST ETH from Lido, et cetera. We are now entering the world of liquid restaking tokens. And for all of the restaking networks that EigenLayer enables, which is the point of EigenLayer, there is additional yield that comes from the fees or inflation from these networks that get imbued into the liquid restaking token. So the first restaking network that's going to come online is EigenDA, a data availability network. And there is going to be fees from rollups or from really anyone who wants to use and consume EigenDA's data availability. Those fees for that service will be paid into the liquid restaking token. And so you have the yield from ETH staking. You also have the fees going to EigenDA. And then, for any other, what is called an AVS, actively validated service, which is what EigenDA is. It's what a restaking network is. For any other EigenLayer network, AVS, that generates yield, these liquid restaking tokens will secure those networks and capture those yields and deposit them into the liquid restaking tokens. So liquid restaking tokens are Ether, the yield from ETH staking, and the fees from all EigenLayer networks that particular liquid restaking token provides security for. So it's simply just more yield. And we all love yield in crypto. It's Ether denominated yield. It's Ether capital as a deposit. And also it's combined with these double airdrop farms of EigenLayer and the specific liquid restaking token project that is working in this arena. So I think it's an aligning of a handful of stars that are all putting EigenLayer and liquid restaking tokens into the narrative in 2024.
Okay, and I should mention, of course, with any yield, there is also risk associated with ain't nothing free, right? So that's a note that all Bankless listeners should always be aware of. Whenever you see yield, it's really about your risk-adjusted return, and you have to factor smart contract risk, the risk being slashed by all these various protocols. But let me try to make sense of that. So what EigenLayer essentially does is it takes a monetary unit like Ether, and it uses in the same way the Ethereum network uses staked ETH as a bond to secure the entire Ethereum network. EigenLayer is basically saying now you can use Ether and kind of the validator set of Ethereum to secure other applications. And EigenLayer DA is a data availability application that EigenLayer has kind of developed in-house. And that's one of the first applications on top of the EigenLayer network. But there will be more in the future. You can imagine entire like Chainlink style Oracle networks launched on top of EigenLayer. You can imagine entire kind of like, I don't know if we should call them rollups, but sort of chains that are economically secured by ETH in kind of a different way than a rollup is. So an entire rollup maybe secured by EigenLayer as an app. All of these various apps, these are the AVSs that you mentioned. And so AVS stands for what? Active Validator?
Actively Validated Service, which is kind of a complicated name. It's really just a restaking network.
It's an EigenLayer app. We just call it
It's
an EigenLayer app or
yeah.
restaking app. Okay. And so that's what's happening. And then just clarify this. So what is the difference between a liquid staking token like STETH and RETH? These are liquid staking tokens. We're all familiar with that. And a liquid restaking token. Is it just that you just take a liquid stake token, you take an RETH and you stake it again, and then it becomes a liquid restaking token? Is that basically it?
Yeah, that's basically it. So think of it as a set of concentric circles where at the very center you have vanilla Ether, and one more concentric circle out, you have staked Ether, either staked Ether from Lido, staked Ether from Rocket Pool. You could also solo stake, and you get the yields baked into the liquid staking token baked into that. And so now we're two concentric circles out, Ether, liquid staking tokens. And now with EigenLayer, you get one more concentric circle out, which is liquid restaking tokens. So inside of a liquid restaking token, you also have the yield from staking, also get the yields from actively validated services in EigenLayer. Now, you can go to eigenlayer.com and check out all the AVSs that are either online or coming to be online. There's, I think, about 15 that are on the website, but there are many, many more in stealth, still working on their systems. The amount of yield coming out of these things, we are unsure of. It's still kind of an unknown metric. It'll be a combination of network inflation, which we know can be significant historically, and then also fees from actually payments for these services, which I think is the largest unknown. We don't really know how large these fees can get. I would guess it's going to be a much less amount of yield in comparison to network inflation. So there's still some numbers that are still to be determined here. Ryan, you talked about the risks of slashing and the risks of restaking, and that is definitely a very important theme that I think is going to differentiate certain liquid restaking token teams. There are many different reasons as to why a liquid restaking token team will win or lose this game, but really the game is ultimately defined as maximizing exposure while minimizing risk. can you maximize your liquid restaking token to every single restaking network and capture all of the inflation and all of the yield and bake that into your liquid restaking token? And can you do that earlier than the other teams while also minimizing risk? And so the event of getting slashed, if you are a restaking network because you are providing these actively validated services, is significant because A, you're losing capital, but you're also losing trust. So this is kind of how I think this game will win. There's the classic, like there needs to be BD efforts, there needs to be integrations, there needs to be partnerships, but really the liquid restaking game will be won by maximizing exposure to AVSs and then minimizing risk.
And the reason this is a big deal is from a supply-demand perspective. I guess from a supply perspective, there's a lot of ETH out there. There's a lot of staked ETH out there in search of yield. So this is another use case for ETH kind of as the internet bond to secure non-Ethereum networks, non-Ethereum applications as well, which is kind of novel. And that's on the supply side. I guess on the demand side, it will really be a function of how many networks, how many applications require ETH or can benefit from the economic security of Ether, rather than I suppose bootstrapping their own token. You kind of use Ethereum's validator and Ether as a monetary asset to bootstrap your network security. I guess that's on the demand side of things. How many of these applications will really really take off? It seems like DA, I know that's another point that we'll get to, but DA, EigenLayer DA in and of itself might be a huge catalyst for demand here, but there could be others. And I guess EigenLayer is waiting for its breakout app. Now, EigenLayer is not the only restaking protocol. It's probably the most well-known and the biggest, but are there others as well, David?
Not natively on Ethereum, and in my opinion, not having access to the capital of Ether makes other restaking networks not as interesting. But that's always, my perspective. That would probably come as no surprise to listeners. There is Babylon on Bitcoin, so Bitcoin restaking is a thing. There's another one, I'm forgetting the name, but it's more in like the multi-chain, multi-layer one ecosystem. And really, like, there's actually no reason why Ether needs to be the enshrined asset of choice inside of EigenLayer, except for just the monetary network of ETH. ETH is money, as money-like properties. It has a high market cap. Again, we talked about this point specifically in the episode I did with Mike Neuter and Sriram from EigenLayer. So go listen to that more recent episode that we put out on the Bankless podcast feed. There's also just one of the reasons why I know this is a big theme going into 2024 is the sheer number of teams that are going after this. I've heard reports of up to 15 liquid restaking teams. I haven't been able to categorize them all, but just like Puffer Finance, Rio Restaking, EtherFi, Swell Network, Ender Protocol, Kelp DAO, Renzo Protocol, Restake Finance. The number of teams is like large because everyone is kind of saying like, oh, this is another shot at winning what was the liquid staking token game, but that game has kind of been won by Lido. It's hard to dethrone Lido at this point, but Lido's not in their liquid restaking game. And so it's an open playing field and everyone's very, very hungry. And so this is why I think it's a theme for
Wait, why isn't Lido in the liquid restaking game? They kind of are, but they're not doing the AVSs. They're not doing the EigenLayer applications directly. I mean, but you can put STETH inside of EigenLayer, right? Correct?
Correct. Yeah, you can put STETH inside a number of these applications. So Kelp DAO, for example, you can put Lido staked ETH into Kelp DAO along with Stater ETH, XETH into Kelp DAO. And you can use both because they are restaking token. It's one of the 15 liquid restaking token projects that exist out there. And so, yeah, so some of these things have their own liquid staking token. So like Swell Network, for example, disclosure, Ryan and I are angel investors. They are more vertically integrated because they have SW ETH, but they are also one of the earliest teams to pivot into liquid restaking. And so they're more vertically integrated, whereas Kelp DAO isn't doing their own LST, but they are aggregating other LSTs into their LRT. So there's a number of ways, different permutations to build these systems, but the end product is a liquid restaking token, which will have more yield than liquid staking tokens, and it's going to be a fight for integrations into DeFi and just more liquidity and market makers. And, eventually there's only so much capital to go around. So that's where all of these teams are going to be competing on. And it's going to be hot. I really like it because it's just like a dual yield farming opportunity. And so I'm farming one of these airdrops, and it's nice because you get EigenLayer points and you get the LRT points, and it's just extra dopamine,
Yeah, no, this has all of the, I guess, the setup to be an investment theme for next year. I can understand why you picked it. We've got teams developing in the space. We've got kind of a new base protocol that is sort of net new, hasn't been tried before, right? It's kind of like, using the economic security of and the validator set of a network like Ethereum and applying that to other networks and other applications. That's novel, that's new. Also has the yield side of things, also has the airdrop hunting side of things. So I can see why this makes your list.
If you enjoyed all of that, then you'll absolutely love the Bankless newsletter. Join over 300,000 fellow readers, all for free. Click below to sign up.